In terms of my agenda for the people of Karen, the first thing that I intend to implement to the letter, my first agenda is to ensure that we end corruption and bribery in this world. As an MCA, you have a lot of opportunities, but when some of us get in there, we turn these opportunities into chances for personal aggrandizement. Now, how would I be able to achieve that, or what experience gives me the knowledge or capacity to do that? In my training, I have in certain phases worked with the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions. I've also worked in the Office of the Attorney General and the Department of Justice. I've also had an experience at the Commission on Administrative Justice. Now, for you to be able to fight this monster of corruption, you need to be able to know what to do when you see there's something going wrong. And for you to be able to achieve it, you need to be able to collaborate also with other government bodies. The work of an MCA as an administrator is being watched by other entities also. Myself having an experience with those different bodies, I'll be best placed to know where to start. If there's something, a red light comes up in terms of, we see officials, either in the county executive or administrators within the ward, anyone trying to take advantage of any opportunity in leadership, and there are so many, we can't talk about all of them, right? I'll be best placed to respond to it through my collaboration with those agencies, if need be. Now, the second thing that I intend to pay close attention to is the equitable distribution of ward resources. There's the ward fund and many other resources which may come into the hands of an MCA through either donors or what have you. How do I intend to ensure that we have equitable distribution of these resources? I intend that through the ward committees, we should be able to have participation of different stakeholders, so that if we have any resources that need to be shared, the residents of Karen are the ones who will decide what are the priority areas, right? And what should come first and for how much. Those committees are the ones which will assist me in doing this job and in balancing, because we have different levels, or rather levels of income within Karen, right? We have the high income earners, we have the landowners, and then we have the low cadre income earners, those who live in informal settlements. So for us to be able to pay attention to equity, we'll decide how do we assist in taking care of everybody and ensuring that those who have live in the informal settlements, at least their lives are uplifted, and also those who are at the high income level benefit from the projects that we will be undertaking within the ward. Some of the things which we can implement in employing our resources are the improvement of these informal settlements. You wouldn't want to live in a properly fenced area with a lot of security, good roads into your gate, but your neighbor right next to you is living with garbage lying all over, sewage, right? There's a problem with that. Not just out of humanity, because we need to take care of others, but if people live in areas which are not dignified and they cannot afford food. I've had friends within this area since my student years at the Kenya School of Law who have been doing informal businesses, but they've never changed. And why is that? Because they do business repeatedly in the same way, but expecting different results. Now, through these funds and equitable distribution, we'll be able to assist some of these people and uplift their standards. If people right next to you live in informal settlements and they cannot help themselves, they'll come for you, right? A time will come when they've exhausted everything, and then they start shifting into you who is a high income earner. And we need to take advantage of our resources to ensure that this does not happen. The other thing which I intend to pay close attention to is the effective county executive oversight. That is one function of the member of county assembly through the constitution, Article 185, so that we have the function of legislation and oversight. If you have somebody who understands what needs to do and somebody who can interpret the law, right, then they'll be able to exercise oversight. If you don't understand what the law says and what somebody needs to do, you cannot oversight them. So that's another thing which I intend to achieve. I've spoken about ward committees and activating them. That also goes into the aspect of public participation. It's a requirement even in the law that for anything that you do, you need to ensure there's public participation. I also intend to ensure that we have some support for persons living with disabilities and the small businesses, right? Issues of licensing. We have so many different licenses that will be required of you before you take advantage of any business opportunity. You need to take the business permit, you need to have a permit for fire. There's even a requirement that you need to have a dustbin of a certain specification in your business premises. People don't know that. Now, the other thing that perhaps the residents of Karen will benefit from myself is that because I know what the law says, I can be able to find it out of my experience and knowledge as a lawyer. I'll do public engagements and sensitization, right? Because the people need also to know what is it that the public servants are doing and how are they supposed to even comply with these laws. I also intend that we have a conversation with the business owners within Karen. Institutions, we have colleges, we have hotels, malls. A nice conversation that for those people who are jobless within our ward, how can they benefit, right, from these institutions and malls in terms of having some priority or a cut for jobs for residents of Karen. It will assist us in weeding out also joblessness. And I understand, if you are a private business owner, you cannot be forced by somebody to employ somebody, right? So you find that they require a certain standard of skills, which may not be with our youths. They go for people outside who are befitting of that status. But if there is training which is required, then we will need to find a way of ensuring that our youths are trained to be able to meet those standards that these private business owners would require.
There is a serious gap in actual leadership. There is a very serious gap in actual leadership. Coming back home many years later, I grew up really in a situation where I could not tell what my MCA is doing. I could not tell, I could not meet him, I do not know him, I have no idea what's going on. So that was the first issue that I thought that really this needs to change. This needs to change, and in a very serious way. So I set out on this journey to provide responsive leadership. Responsive leadership through creating very proactive initiatives, so that in this situation, with the help of the different stakeholders, the people who are living in Karen, working in Karen, who go to school in Karen, we can finally have a dignified living just here. Dignity, very important. I know the different cadres of people who live within Karen. Nobody wants a poor life. And I, as MCA, look forward to working with all those walks of people. It is time to put us back on the table. put us back on the table and really start working together. And the reality I can say, I know, even judging by the numbers of the previous election, there are many voters that come even from the diaspora. They do not feel anything really because there is that lack of unity. We need to get back on the table. Why? I want to go home and see outside where I live that person also is living a good life. And that is the real systemic problem that we have in Karen. And there are ways we can do this. Once you're on the table, we have to look through the different initiatives that we can start taking up and creating the difference we desire. And I can use a good example, a very easy one. If we look at the challenge of our drainage system, do I expect everyone from KLDA to come and dig a channel? No. But there is a young man in Kurinda, there is a young man who works in Karen, living in Gataka. They can be organized, they can be empowered, they can be put in a situation where they'll be able to actually provide a trench. They'll be able to actually provide a nice way that water can be left out. So that determines something. For us to have the different services that we desire, for us to have a proper and a dignified living in Karen, we need to work together. Therefore, I decided that I will create a restore, a refurbish, and rejuvenate Karen committee, whereby I will work with the leaders, the different leaders from all walks, to be the people who are actually doing oversight of the different service provision that is required for our small ward. Here, I'm saying that when it comes to the different people, the different groups that we need to work together, we know the work of the MCA is not to touch the money for service provision, is to coordinate and oversee it. I will call upon each and every one of you by your representative and started transforming the issue of water, the issue of roads, the issue of drainage, even unto security. We shall be working together. So should you give me the opportunity, that is the situation that I want to have. A responsive leadership that is doing proactive initiatives in the different required areas so that we can start living a quality, dignified life in Karen, no matter who you are, wherever you are. And we will have done it as a family. And let's end these shenanigans of looking at ourselves as different from the other. I will be there leading this family to start living the kind of life we all desire. We have a large community of smallholder businesses. Those people need representation, and they need to be talking with people in KLDA, so that when you pass, you do not feel disenfranchised, or you don't just feel that the road is being misused, or just that these people are for their lives. This Karen, the kind of life we want to live, we can achieve it in partnership. I have looked through our website. I know the different desires we have, and we can work together. And I will provide that leadership should you choose me, because I have the plan and you've had a taste of it. And more of it will take English. I don't know who is the admin. Please put your hand. I will approach you in a minute so that I can share this manifest.
We have an issue that touches across the residents and the people who do business in Karen, and that is market. I'm not sure how many people know where the Karen market is, but I believe very few know that there's even a market, because most people sell on the side of the road. Now, there is actually a market space allocated, and it burnt down a few years ago. and it's never been repaired. A section of it has never been repaired. So what we have now are many business owners and drivers who don't have a safe place to conduct business. So we have them on the side of the road. Honestly, I do enjoy seeing, eye shopping as I'm driving through Karen. I like seeing the shoes, but and actually there's nothing wrong with people conducting their businesses the best way they can, but it is very unsafe for both the seller and the buyer. Yeah, when I stop on the side of the road to buy the nyanyas, it's unsafe. So one of my goals is to make sure that we have not even just one designated space, but designated spaces for our community to conduct business, to have the section that is burnt to be repaired, and that way our goods are safe and secure. Another one of my goals is to introduce early childhood development centers. Now, I believe that children are our future and we must protect them, and we have to get it right at the foundational level. Now, we have the ladies and gentlemen and relatives, the ladies and gentlemen who work for us in our homes. We have relatives who may not be able to afford the relatively expensive kindergartens we have in Karen. And our kids have to be safe for us to be able to work as adults, for us to be able to be productive at work. In the end, the kids are our future, they are our future artists, maybe even our future presidents. So by providing early childhood education centers, or rather pushing for it, so they're implemented because this is part of the county government mandate, we would have benefited our future generations. And we are to protect and guide the young children, the adolescents, the young adults, and that brings me to the need for community centers. So Karen needs to become a community. We are very individual. Unfortunately, that is the world that we live in right now. And no man is an island. Most of our Kenyan cultures tell us that the community raises the children. We are all raised by the community. So I'm advocating for community centers. We need to have youth mentorship programs running from these centers, space for sports and music and art, so that we can keep our youth engaged. I would like to have community centers that allow for such programs to run, and we can even have a space for such forums to be hosted. We don't have to rely on private institutions to have public hearings. We should have them hosted in a space that is for the community.
All MCAs in the country, our job is to lobby in the county government, pretty much. We're not given a fund to go and say we're going to build roads, that we're going to go and build houses, and so and so. What we're doing is trying to put someone in office whom I think is best, that's me, to actually go and lobby for my ward and ensure that we are actually giving the executive proper oversight, pushing certain projects through the county committees. We need someone who's actually steadfast, someone who's going to speak on behalf of the people and for the people. The biggest issue that's happening here in Karen is job opportunities, right? That's why there's a huge gap between the upper class and the lower class. We need to attract jobs. Through the county government, what I want to do, not just mainly, but is very important, is to push for appropriate laws, policies that actually attract investors into this area of ours. Nairobi yetu, na Karen yetu. We need to talk to the guys who actually own the land away from residential areas. Are you open to leasing that land to actually attract these multi-million-dollar companies to come to Karen and give our youth job opportunities? Let's not say we're going to fix water, infrastructure, and work on an environment when our people are poor. It's not going to happen, okay? There's no magic to it. We need to actually create these job opportunities for everyone and bridge the gap so that that system that we want to build works for everyone. Another thing that was being talked about is water capturing systems, which I really wanted to touch on. So, in this project of modernization, this is actually going to be more of a long-term plan. In the meantime, we need to work with the local communities to make sure that we are putting in place short-term solutions to these problems while we work on our long-term solutions. My job in the county assembly will be to buy us time with these short-term solutions as we work on these long-term solutions. How are we going to do that? Again, we have to keep lobbying through the county community elders, the team leaders. We'll go to the county government. We'll push these things together. That is exactly my job as an MCA, provide oversight to the executive and make sure that the Ward Development Fund is actually going towards the things that we in Karen want to happen. The infrastructure, the modernization, it has to start from the top. And that's why we're going to hold the governor and the executive accountable for making sure that the past 15 years that have happened in Karen with the past leadership is not going to happen here again. Going forth to one of my next points is multiple permits for business owners. I've heard complaints that a lot of business owners are saying that easy permits mazeni begali, I can't get this permit, or if I go here I have to pay someone in Kanjo. Why do we have to have multiple permits when we can just have one particular portal where our people can go, select what type of permits they want, and they get a permit that just shows every single permit that they have applied for is in this one document. Mambo ya kufanya watu watembee na wasifanye biashara is not even fair. Okay? It just needs to be one trip. You make one trip to the officials, get your business permit, and you go back to work. After all, that's what we want to do. We want to work, pay our taxes, and build our county. Another issue that was mentioned here by my sister, the current market. I spoke with a few gentlemen over there. They actually mentioned that they don't even want to be on the road. Alright? This is something that I found very interesting when I asked, okay, you mentioned this before to your previous MCA. They said yes, but after the market burned down, there was nothing that was done. What I think we need to do, just for safety especially, is to get these guys back into a market, into a zone. That I think we can come together as one of the short-term solutions. Because once we get into office, I'm sure it will take maybe over a year for some of these projects to kick in. So we have to come together as a community and figure out how can we actually maybe build or come up with a fundraiser in the meantime to make sure that we build a space that they can actually work in. We can build a terminus temporarily while we work on these other long-term solutions. Also, another thing that came up in the local communities is special education. Okay? And this is for the disadvantaged children, the ones with disabilities like autism and so on and so forth. I believe part of my skill set, as I mentioned earlier, in my master's degree of applied behavior analysis, is to work with these particular kids in their demographic. I believe if we can put together certain initiatives in the community, we can actually start putting together these platforms where children are getting these services that they need in order to grow their skill set, the skill acquisition, the behavior management programs, and these are job opportunities that we can actually give in the local community. So I'll be more than happy to work with anyone who's looking to possibly even put together a certain institution, bridge them with stakeholders even outside the country, so we can make sure we afford these services to these children.